The cell membrane. Glycolipids are lipids with a carbohydrate attached. Their role is to provide energy, and they also serve as markers for cellular recognition. They are found in the hydrophilic region of the plasma membrane. Glycoproteins are proteins that also have carbohydrate chains attached to them. They play a role in cell-to-cell interactions, and they're also found in the hydrophobic region of the plasma membrane. The carbohydrate chain is located in the glycoprotein on the outside, on the hydrophilic region of the plasma membrane. They provide energy for the cell. Transport proteins are found in the plasma membrane, and their function is to facilitate what goes in and out of the cell. Phospholipids serve as part of the structure for the plasma membrane, and together they provide membrane fluidity. Cholesterol is found with phospholipids in the phospholipid bilayer, and their function is to make the membrane more rigid. The phospholipid bilayer is made up of the two layers of phospholipid heads and phospholipid tails. They make up the structure of the plasma membrane. The hydrophobic tails can be found on the inside of the bilayer in the hydrophobic region. They prevent polar molecules from passing through the membranes. The hydrophilic heads also provide structure for the cell, and they also prevent the passing of substances such as water. Integral proteins can be found in the cell membrane, and their functions are to act as receptor proteins for hormones, to act in cell-to-cell communication, to help in cell adhesion. They can speed up the reactions on a cell membrane, and they allow passive transport channels for ions and molecules. The peripheral protein is located on the outside of the cell of the plasma membrane, and they can also act as ion channels and transmembrane receptors. Diffusion across a cell membrane is a type of passive transport. Passive transport is defined as movement across a permeable membrane with no energy required. This movement occurs from high to low concentration. Osmosis is another type of passive transport, and it's very similar to simple diffusion, except that it mainly focuses with water. In this example, the sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. There's a high percentage of solvent, so it wants to move down to a lower concentration of solvent, which is why it moves through the membrane to the sugar solution. The third type of passive transport is facilitated diffusion. This involves solutes moving from a high to low concentration through a membrane protein. This protein is called a channel protein. For the first step, 3 sodium ions bind to the cytoplasmic side of the protein, causing a change in the protein. For the second step, an ATP molecule attaches to the protein. For the third step, the attached ATP causes a second change that moves the ions across the membrane. For the fourth step, 2 potassium ions bind to the extracellular side of the protein. For the fifth step, the ATP breaks off from the protein, exposing the ions to the inside of the cell. For the final step, the 2 ions break off from the protein into the cell, thus maintaining the balance between sodium and potassium.